Hello, and welcome to The Beat, a news and talk program brought to you by the Center of Community Media at Worcester State University. I am your host, Abigail Silbert, and today we'll be speaking with Carlos Odria. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you describe your style of guitar playing for our audience?
Sure. My style is very eclectic. I try to fuse different elements of different types of music that I've learned in my years of being a student, and I use my fingers, so I will describe it first as a finger style guitar. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the music that I play, it's a variety of things. So I usually call it world jazz.
World jazz.
Because I use a lot of improvisation in my music, but also rhythms and grooves from different parts of the world.
It's beautiful. How did you first get started with your music, and who is your inspiration?
I started when I was 12, maybe 13 years old, and I began studying guitar with a very famous guitar player in Peru, my hometown, whose name is Pepe Torres. And he taught me classical guitar, folk music from my country, a little bit of jazz, and I studied with him a few years. And then I moved to the United States to study jazz at Florida State University. And being there kind of opened up different possibilities for me to learn from different artists and get to appreciate the music of different cultures. So in terms of people who inspire me as a musician, there are plenty of them. I would say the first guitar player who really became one of my gods was Paco de Lucia, the famous Spanish flamenco guitar player.
Wow. It's really nice that you got to play in both cultures.
Yes, yeah, I think that's one of the nice things about being a musician, that can, if you approach your career in a certain way, you can be able to, play music with different people from different parts of the world and get to make music together. It's a nice feeling.
Special. Can you tell us a little bit about your new album and how it differs from your previous work?
Of course. My previous album is an album that I recorded with my friends from grad school in Florida State. So it was very exploratory. I think we did a great job, or we were happy with the product of that album, which we recorded in the studios of the College of Music of Florida State in 2014 or 13. But now I think that I have learned a lot being here in Worcester, getting to know local musicians, and also having spent time composing new music and kind of processing new styles of music that I've been trying to investigate. So this new album will reflect that, the new influences in my life as a person, as someone who lives in this area, and as a musician who has learned from other musicians.
Wow. What are some of the venues that you perform at regularly in the area, and what type of gigs are your favorite?
Some time ago, I made a promise to myself that I will try to play in many different places and try to not to be picky in terms of the places where I work, because I think as a musician, my goal should be to reach different types of audiences and try to communicate my message, right? I use sounds to communicate my personal message. So I've done festivals, I've done formal concerts in auditoriums and concert halls in universities, but I also do a lot of shows in bars, restaurants, a lot of breweries in the area. So I try to, play in a variety of settings. My favorite ones, I think, will be playing in a concert hall. Allows you to have a very intimate communication with your audiences. So every sound that you produce in your instrument becomes meaningful. because you can feel that electricity going on in the air. So I really like that. But I also like playing in big places like breweries, for example, where people are very excited and there are kids, there are families. It's noisy, but also you get to engage your audience at another level. People dance, people get excited, and that energy gets back to you and really energizes you. So I will go to those two extremes: a very quiet and intimate space and a very noisy and energetic place.
It sounds like you're able to reach different types of cultures and populations that way also.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I try to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. You hold a PhD in ethnomusicology. How does your doctoral work and research contribute to your guitar playing?
It has been a huge influence. Really studying music in a formal way has given me the tools to enrich my music and my message. It has forced me to sit down and think about what I do. Before getting to grad school and studying ethnomusicology, I think my music lacked direction. I'm not judging the quality of my music per se, but just the direction of the music. Just through the years that I spent in grad school, I learned about how people around the world use music for very powerful purposes, not only to entertain somewhat, but to communicate very, very deep messages that relate to common aspects of humanity, right? Emotions, ideas, even spirituality. All those things inform the music of a lot of musicians around the world. So that has shaped the way in which I approach my music. So that degree in ethnomusicology has given me, I think, another layer, more profound layer in the way in which I compose my music and the way in which I deliver my music. I try to put a deep message in what I do.
It sounds like it helped you make your music more personal.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think it helped me to go deeper into my own being and get out with with some sounds that reflect that kind of exploration.
It definitely shows when you play.
Oh, thank you.
As an educator, what advice do you have for your musicians or guitar players that are just starting out?
Well, the first advice is practice,
Yeah.
right? Practice really, for me, it's a joy. It shouldn't be an imposition or a burden. It's more about crafting your art and the way that you express yourself through sounds. So practicing is a commitment. It's a life commitment, and it also shows the love that you have for what you do, and the importance of communicating your message to other people, right? So practicing is the first advice. The second one, believe in yourself in terms of follow your intuition. Everyone who works in the arts, who is a creative person, should trust his or her intuition in order to just bring out that which is deep in his or her soul. So follow your intuition.
It's great advice. As a seasoned performer, what advice do you have for people who might experience any type of performance anxiety?
Well, anxiety is a very common thing. Even the most famous musicians and the best musicians have experienced a degree of anxiety. I think it's not a bad thing. Anxiety can give you an extra level of energy when you perform. If you can find a way to reconvert that energy into something creative, in another element of the emotion and feelings that you are trying to convey. Of course, sometimes it can create an imbalance in what you do. But I think my advice will be try to use that anxiety for a good purpose in what you do. Try to convert that into something creative. Put an extra layer of passion in what you do.
It's a very positive way of looking at anxiety.
Yeah, I think it's. I experience that every time I play. But one of my guitar gods, Paco de Lucia, he said in an interview that every time he has a concert, he loses weight because he really gets into a very profound state of anxiety. But that makes him practice more, so he can reassure himself in a performance.
Right.
So that's a constructive way to use that negative state.
Right. Very constructive. You're going to perform a song today. Can you tell us a little bit about each song?
The first song, it's called La Nana, which I wrote for my wife. And the story that I usually tell, it's in part the rhythm of this song and the melody was inspired in the way in which my wife walks, which for me is beautiful. I really like it. So I try to reflect the way in which he walks in the bass lines that you guys will recognize when I start playing the song. And I composed that piece probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, but it has gone through a process of transformation since I composed it. The second song is called Montuno Negro, and it's a song that I compose to reflect my exploration and love for a variety of Afro-derived rhythms, which have been a very important influence in my music. So rhythms that come from the Caribbean, from Cuba, from Brazil, from Peru. I try to do a mixture of things in that song that reflect that exploration of African rhythms. The montuno, it's a type of groove that is usually played in the piano, for example, when you hear a salsa orchestra. But I use the word montuno because I like to create grooves with the guitar, to create a sense of rhythm and power and energy using the strings of my instrument.
Sounds like two very personal and diverse songs.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for watching this segment of The Beat. Please remember to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. We'll see you next time.